Picture this. Your laptop, it's off, it's powered down, it's plugged in, but it's powered completely down, okay? You're sipping your coffee and you're thinking, I'm safe. But deep in the silicone guts, ring minus fucking 3, Intel management engine is wide awake, watching your memory, sniffing your network, a black box backdoor that even NSA turns off it for itself. Welcome to the Panopticon motherfuckers. Privacy? That's a fucking joke.
Let me tell you something, kiddo. This isn't paranoia, it's architecture, right? And today on Sophuckit, we're unpacking my new paper, the Panopticon Paradigm. Because if the Godfather says your digital life's a glass house,
Then we're all shrieking naked in it. I'm
uh,
Soph. Strap in, guys.
that's right.
Life throw flames, try to burn what I constructed. Not new to the game, unscathed by the flames. Risen like the phoenix, I mean it, so fuck it. I mean it, oh, I mean it, I mean it, oh, fuck it. For my lips, so fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, bitch, so fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, bitch, so fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, bitch, so fuck it. Podcast bitches, Batman 503 and I'm out, take it away, so.
All right, baby girl, let's start from the beginning. On January 23rd, 2026, Forbes reporter Thomas Brewster documented that Microsoft had handed BitLocker recovery keys to the FBI so agents could decrypt data on seized Windows laptops. Users uploaded their keys to the cloud for convenience. Poof, everything's unlocked.
Are you fucking kidding me? For convenience? That's like handing your house keys to a burglar because what if you forgot yours? And this ain't new. Let's dive into your paper. Godfather, Intel management engine. Can you explain that?
Sure. So your computer security runs like a group of rings, right? Here's what people don't understand about security. These privilege levels are staggered out for a reason, right? Think of them like floors to a building, except the lower floors have more power, right? So below the operating system, below the first floor is the basement. Inside the basement, you have access to everything. Full memory access, network peripherals, including your cameras, for example.
So, like, the basement is the most powerful?
Exactly. Your applications like your browser or Discord or whatever, they run at ring 3, which is like the top level basically, right? So that's the most outside layer, right? And then the top floor, very restricted. They can only access what's on the floors that they're allowed to access, right? So when you start going below that to the operating system level or the hardware level, you need to have higher privilege.
Okay.
Yeah. So your operating system, like I said, works at like say the ground floor. That's ring 0, the kernel. That's it runs everything in the computer. It controls what applications can do, you know, essentially your drivers, everything like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Now below that is ring -1. So, right, -1 you see in like server or data centers, right, where they run the hypervisor, right? That's the virtual machines that you've heard of before, right? Ring -2 is the system management mode, right? So that's where like the system like will manage your hard drives, your CPU, the RAM, things like that, right?
So, we're already in the basement.
Yeah, we're not even close. So -3 is the Intel management engine you were talking about, right? All right, now, kiddo, that's the bedrock, right? It's a hidden operating system in every single Intel chip since 2008. Firmware that you cannot audit, that runs on auxiliary power. So when your computer is off but plugged in, the Intel management engine is still running. It has direct access to memory. It can read anything in your memory, which means anything you actively are working on, it has network access. It can communicate externally with even like when the computer is off, right? So if somebody's trying to monitor you, they can monitor you even when your computer's off. Activate things like your hardware, like your camera and things like that. It can access your USB ports and then access hard drives that might still be plugged in. It can access any storage devices. It can access your display. There's actually a device out there that people can use that will wirelessly pull what's off the HDMI cable going to your monitor and watch what's happening on your monitor. Now, granted, it's only in black and white, but they can still see what's on your monitor.
So, it's a rootkit. So, the fucking CPU has a built in rootkit.
That's one way to describe it. The official purpose is enterprise management, right? So your IT department can manage your computer, when you work away from the office or when you're remote. IT departments use it to service remote machines and update firmware and troubleshoot systems that won't boot, but you can't audit it. The firmware is cryptographically signed by Intel. You can't see what it's doing. You can't modify it. Security researchers have documented multiple critical vulnerabilities over the years.
So it's like a black box with God mode access to your entire computer made by a private company that nobody can verify isn't doing something malicious.
Correct. Now for the fun part.
Oh, there's a fun part.
Oh, yeah. So in 2017, security researchers discovered something called HAP mode, High Assurance Platform. It's an undocumented flag that the management engine firmware disables most of its functionality.
Oh, an off switch. Cool.
Yes, an off switch that the NSA requested for its own systems. So the National Security Agency, the same people running the mass surveillance programs like PRISM that Edward Snowden talked about, asked Intel to give them a way to shut off the management engine on their computers because they correctly identified it as a security risk. That flag exists. Regular consumers cannot access it.
So the surveillance state it like we can't have our machines compromised by this back door, just everyone else's.
That's the architecture, kiddo.
And what about AMD?
AMD has the platform security processor. Same concept, just a different brand name.
Of course they do. Listen, any privacy claim that doesn't address hardware is incomplete at best. You can't run Signal, use Tor, encrypt everything with AES 256, and it doesn't matter if the processor itself can read data as it's being processed in memory.
Right. So if you see this chart, right, it tells us exactly which layers everything runs at, right, and how to find it, right? So encryption protects data in transit and at rest. But when you're actively using it, it's not encrypted. People can look at it.
It's in memory and the clear, and ring -3 has access.
Bingo.
I need a drink already, and we've not even started. Oh, fun fact. I just looked up on my laptop to see when it was made. 2022. It's Intel Core i7. So I've got a tiny fucking spy computer inside of my computer, and I've just been streaming Netflix and writing my grocery list like a fucking idiot.
But the grocery lists are safe.
Are they though? What if someone's tracking how much wine I buy? Which is a lot.
It's probably your credit card company, not the NSA.
Oh, wonderful. Different surveillance. Oh, great.
Here's what people need to understand. Total visibility isn't the same as total analysis. The infrastructure is optimized for access. Whether anyone's actually looking at your grocery list is a resource question.
So you're saying I'm too boring to surveil? Well, that's sweet of you.
Well, I'm sorry, but yeah, you're definitely on a list after this episode.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you're right. But here's what I don't get. If this is also documented so well, you've got citations out the ass. So why isn't this a big deal? Like, why isn't there a congressional hearing about Intel having a government requested off switch that regular people cannot use?
Because it's technical, it's complicated, and most people's eyes glaze over when you start talking about privilege rings and firmware attestation. And because this is the important part, the system doesn't need to hide. It just needs to be boring enough that people don't engage with it.
So privacy by obscurity, but for surveillance purposes.
Exactly. The best control systems don't look like control systems. They look like features, enterprise management, remote troubleshooting, convenience.
For your security, we've embedded a thing in your computer that can never be turned off.
Terms and conditions apply.
Did anyone ever read those, like, ever?
No, and that's the point.
All right, I gotta know the history because this didn't happen by accident, right? I mean, there's a playbook somewhere, right?
There's always a playbook. And this one starts in 1993.
The Clipper chip.
Exactly. So this was during the Clinton administration with the Clipper chip, right? The NSA introduces something called the Clipper chip, right? The idea was to create a hardware encryption device, right, for telecommunications, phones mostly, because cell phones were becoming really popular at the time. This had a built-in backdoor called key escrow.
Key escrow being?
So the government holds a copy of your encryption keys. You can encrypt whatever you want as long as they can decrypt it whenever they want.
And they just came out and said that.
Yep. That's exactly what they said. The justification was law enforcement access, wiretapping, national security. The usual, protect the children kind of crap. But it failed. Civil liberties organizations, cryptographers, industry, everybody unified with a backlash against them saying, no, you can't have that. Researchers found technical vulnerabilities and then officially terminated the program in 1996.
So it failed. So victory.
Yeah, that's where the lesson gets learned. The government learned that overt mandates for cryptographic access create political resistance. The demand for access didn't change, the tactic did.
They went covert.
Yes, they went covert. And to Bull Run. So Bull Run revealed in the Snowden documents in 2013 a classified multi-year effort to defeat encryption through various means, right? So instead of just using hardware, now they're going to use software.
Various means.
Right. So the Clipper chip was just the beginning, right? Computer network exploitation, traditional hacking, industry relationships, partnerships with tech companies to build in access, right? So exploiting weaknesses in how encryption is implemented. So not the math itself, and the most critically, actively working to weaken cryptographic standards at the source, inserting vulnerabilities into the standards themselves. And they had close ties with Silicon Valley.
So not just exploiting weaknesses, but creating them.
Creating them, standardizing them, getting international bodies to adopt compromised algorithms. That's what happened with dual EC DRBG.
Do what now?
So dual elliptic curve deterministic random bit generator, right?
That's a
This is
mouthful.
an algorithm. I know, right? So this is an algorithm that almost everybody in the industry uses to pull up random numbers, which is what a lot of cryptography is based off of, right? So random number generation is the foundation of encryption, right? Every time you generate a key, establish a secure connection, encrypt a file, your system needs random numbers. If those numbers aren't truly random, that means they're predictable. And if they're predictable, someone who knows how it's made can decrypt it and basically just watch whatever you're doing and read anything you're storing, right? Encryption becomes theater then. It's not real.
So if you can predict the random numbers, is this what you're talking
Yep. So
about?
then you can derive the keys. If I can predict the random numbers because I know what your computer's what algorithm or what formula your computer is using, right? I can derive the keys and I can decrypt anything that's stored there. So anything that's encrypted that you think is safe, I can still read. Cryptographers identified dual EC as suspicious immediately. There were internal constants in the algorithm, specific numbers that, if the designer chose them, would create a backdoor. That means a universal key to everybody's encryption. The math was so obvious that researchers call it a rather obvious cryptographic flaw.
Rather obvious. Very British understatement for this is a fucking backdoor.
Yeah. The NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, standardized it in 2006, despite concerns being raised publicly as early as 2007. It remained the formal standard until 2014, for 7 years, with people saying, hey, this looks compromised.
And during that time,
RSA security, you'll notice if people who work for banks have these little keychains with the little tag that says RSA on them that give them a code to log into all of their bank accounts, right? And to access our money. One of the most respected names in cryptography. They are like the god for all cryptography, right? Made dual EC DRBG the default random number generator in their BSafe toolkit. Used widely in enterprise software, used by the banking industry, used by the Federal Reserve Bank. Reports indicate there was a $10 million payment from the NSA to RSA. So RSA got paid off, yeah, 10 million. Yeah.
$1 million to make a broken algorithm the default in enterprise security software.
Yep. The RSA disputes that characterization, right? They claim that the payment was for various services, not specifically to insert the back door. But the outcome is the same. Compromised randomness baked into critical infrastructure gives everybody access to your shit.
This isn't speculation. This is documented. I might
Completely
say
documented.
again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's completely documented. Absolutely. I wish it was fake. I wish it was speculation. I wish it was tinfoil hat nonsense, but it's legit. Silicon Valley and the intelligence community have had a relationship for years. The Snowden documents confirm the sabotage of cryptographic standards. Bull Run is just a matter of public record.
And by 2006, the NSA could defeat VPNs used by foreign governments.
Airlines, travel reservation systems, governments, the secure tunnels that diplomats and corporations relied on for years were transparent to signals intelligence.
So when we're told to use a VPN for privacy,
well, that depends on the VPN. Depends on the implementation. Depends on who you're hiding from. Privacy tools are evaluated against the wrong threat model. So one of the things that you're looking at is like NordVPN and some of these big vendors out there that provide these services, Proton Mail, whatever. They've all been like consolidated by the same companies, and the NSA has had a relationship with them for years. So while you think everybody's going to Nord to be safe, the NSA already has access to their stuff. So when you sign up for NordVPN, for example, you're just signing up to give the NSA all your shit right there in the spot, not protecting yourself from them. So they're tested against script kiddies and hackers who like sit at home in their mom's basement, use their tears for lube. You know, these losers, you're safe from them, right? But the infrastructure, you're not hiding from them. You're hiding from them, not the state, right? So, you're safe from those losers, but you're not safe from the government.
A locked door without a wall.
Without a wall, a wide open window, in fact.
Okay, let me process this.
Sure.
The U.S. government tried an overt backdoor in 93, got slapped down, went underground, sabotaged international cryptographic standards, paid a company $10 million to spread compromised software, and did all of this before the iPhone even existed.
The iPhone came out in 2007.
So by this time, we're all walking around with smartphones. The encryption ecosystem was already rotten from the inside out.
Not all of it. Strong cryptography still exists. The AES remains robust, right? The AES stands for asynchronous encrypted systems, right? Properly implemented end-to-end encryption imposes real costs, right? But the assumption that encrypted automatically means safe, ignore 20 years of state effort to ensure that it's not universally true.
I remember when the Snowden stuff when it came out, I remember being horrified, and then nothing happened. It was just news for about a few months, and then we all just kept using the same shit.
What were you going to do? Stop using the internet?
I mean, I don't know, but it just feels like we all just collectively shrugged it off and accepted it. It is what it is kind of thing.
That's the genius of managed privacy. The revelations came out. People are shocked. Nothing structurally changes. Life goes on. Gradually, their surveillance becomes the water we swim in.
Boiling frogs.
Except the frogs have smartphones.
And the frogs think their encryption apps are keeping them safe. And they probably are. In frog world.
Well, some of those apps are genuinely good. Signal, for instance, has a solid reputation in audited cryptography. The point isn't that nothing works. The point is that the system, the total architecture, is designed for access, even when individuals create friction.
Friction, but not walls.
Not walls. Speed bumps on the road to visibility. That's all.
All right. I want to talk about Apple, because I remember when Apple was supposed to be this huge good guy, Tim Cook standing up to the FBI. We will not build a back door. Very noble. Very think different.
Yeah, it's all theater too. Completely bullshit.
Tell me and ruin my day, please.
All right, well, you asked for it. Don't forget that. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so December 2015, San Bernardino shooting. 14 people were killed in the terrorist attack. The shooters had an iPhone 5C. FBI wanted access.
I remember this. This made huge news, didn't it?
Yep. Apple publicly refused to create a modified iOS that would let the FBI bypass the phone's security features. Tim Cook wrote an open letter, very principled. Building a backdoor would be too dangerous, the FBI pushed back. They said they couldn't get into the phone without Apple's help. Bullshit. Filed a court order under the All Writs Act, right? Apple resisted. Civil liberties groups rallied. It took like a genuine constitutional showdown.
And then?
Right? One day before the critical court hearing, the FBI announced it had found a third party, miraculously, that could unlock the phone and the case was dropped.
Just like that. So no precedent, no court ruling?
No precedent set, no court ruling on compelled speech or on the limits of All Writs Act. The FBI got the data, right? Apple got to keep its privacy hero image, and legal questions remained unresolved. So here's the thing. The FBI always had a backdoor, right? Apple pretended to resist, right? Even though they gave them access a long time ago, right? So it makes them look good. It makes Apple look like they have a secure device and people trust it, right? And they don't think the FBI can get in. They just take the theater as it is, right? What matters structurally isn't that the FBI was faking. It was the theater that they accomplished. Apple gets validated as this big privacy champion, right? Users trust their iPhones, right? More. The going dark narrative gets reinforced, right? The idea that law enforcement is being locked out by unbreakable encryption, and it sets the stage for legislative pushes to mandate backdoors.
So even if Apple really did genuinely resist,
the outcome stabilized the system. Apple's brand improved. FBI got its narrative. The public remains invested in the myth that encryption is a real thing, a real barrier to state access. All judicial theater.
And then there's iCloud.
Right. Apple encrypts your iPhone, but you back it up to iCloud.
Apple holds the keys to most iCloud data. They can do and comply with warrants and whatever they please.
Right. End-to-end encryption applies to some categories, but not all. At most, users have an iCloud backup enabled by default.
So the phone is a locked box, but you store a copy of everything in a glass cabinet at Apple's house.
Right. And here's the best part. So You can't even back up your iPhone to a computer anymore. They force you to back it up to iCloud, right? And the iCloud data center happens to store somebody else's data so that you have your stuff at iCloud. iCloud stores your stuff at AWS. Guess who else is AWS customer? The NSA. So you're storing your stuff in the exact same buckets the NSA reads regularly, right? Most people never turn that off, the iCloud backups.
Defaults again. It's always the defaults.
The architecture is designed to preserve access while performing resistance, right? So that's managed privacy, right? You feel protected, the channels remain open.
Right. Let's talk about PRISM because this is where the private tech companies get exposed.
Right. So there's been a long documented history between Silicon Valley and the intelligence community. PRISM is the most direct evidence we have of structural integration between Silicon Valley and the intelligence community. If you notice, a lot of the CEOs or a lot of the board members of these large companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, they have board members that are literally former members of the NSA, the CIA, or the Naval Intelligence Community, right? So in 2013, Edward Snowden, in his revelation through the documents that he gave the press, showed these connections, right?
So the list, like, were those companies on it? Google and Yahoo and all that?
Yep. So here, let me show you. All right, so we have a whole list of people who are involved with the intelligence community from Silicon Valley. So Microsoft joined in 2007. Yahoo, Google, Yahoo's in 2008. Google and Facebook was in 2009. I think YouTube was the same year. Skype joined in 2011. They got bought out by Microsoft. The last one to really join was after AOL and Paltalk was Apple. Apple joined them as well. They were no strangers to the program.
So basically everyone.
Yeah, basically everyone. So if you look at this list, it's all of them, and the program costs about $20 million every year for taxpayers.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Everyone that mattered, anybody that had services for things like email, searching the web, social networking like Facebook, video chat like Google Meet or Discord, file storage like AWS or Mega, right? Cloud backups. The NSA had a collection program covering the entire consumer market.
I remember the companies denying this. We don't give the government any access to our servers.
Yeah, right. Measured, the word direct is doing a lot of work there. So yeah, they don't have direct access. They have a portal they built for them. So under section 702 of FISA, right, providers can be compelled to facilitate collection. The FBI's Data Intercept Technology Unit, the DITU, acts as an intermediary. They give the company a selector, an email address, a phone number, a user ID, and the company produces the data through a compliance channel, right?
So they don't have direct access because there's an FBI unit in the middle doing paperwork, right?
Right, semantics, right? So the functional outcome is the same. Some companies reportedly built the dedicated compliance infrastructure, secure portals, right? Digital equivalents to locked rooms, specifically to facilitate this collection.
So when Google says we don't give the government access, what they really mean is...
We built a special portal where we hand over the data when asked, in compliance with secret court orders, but we're legally prohibited from disclosing in detail. PRISM accounts for over 91% of all internet communications acquired under 702.
Silicon Valley isn't external to the surveillance state. It's load-bearing.
Exactly. They're the ones that built the tools for the surveillance state to use.
And the legal framework, there's liability shielding, right?
Yeah. So the FISA Amendments Act provides indemnification for all cooperating companies. They're protected from lawsuits when they comply with collection orders.
So not only are they compelled to cooperate, they're protected when they do.
Exactly, right? So these companies have all been playing ball with the U.S. government since the beginning. So when they say they don't keep logs, they're lying. When they say they don't have the keys to unlock, they're lying, right? Incentive alignment. The law makes resistance costly and compliance safe, right?
If this is all documented, Snowden, PRISM, the company participation, why do people still trust these companies with like everything?
Convenience, mostly. Their services are good. People don't want to give them up. A learned helplessness. They're going to get my data anyway, right? My vote doesn't count. And perception management, right? After Snowden, these companies invested heavily in privacy branding, encryption features, privacy settings, reassuring blog posts that everybody reads.
The scandal gets absorbed. It becomes old news.
Continuously. The breach is acknowledged, minor reforms are announced, business continues. The structural relationship is untouched.
Now let's get to the truly surreal part, the cloud contracts.
Yes. In 2013, the CIA awarded a $600 million contract to Amazon Web Services for cloud computing called C2S, Commercial Cloud Services.
The CIA uses Amazon's cloud.
Uses and helped design it. The intelligence community didn't just rent servers, they worked with AWS to build a secure cloud architecture that meets their requirements.
Well, and what's their requirements?
Secure enough for classified operations, available for data analysis at scale, and isolated from public infrastructure.
And then there's wild and stormy.
Oh yeah. So NSA's $10 billion contract for cloud services and infrastructure. The intelligence community is outsourcing its data center operations to commercial providers while simultaneously having structural involvement in their architecture.
So the government that's surveilling us is also the customer for the same company storing our data.
Right. And those same companies, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, are also where you're backing up your files, your photos, your SharePoint, your documents.
We're all using the same infrastructure as the intelligence community.
Not quite the same. There are isolated environments, but the same company, the same engineers, the same underlying architecture, the CIA's data and your personal photos might be in the same data center, right? Processed by systems designed with intelligence requirements baked in, like the ME chip.
And the intelligence community gets to define what secure means.
Exactly. Selector, query, compliance response, right? The friction is administrative, not architectural.
I want to throw everything out into the ocean.
Yeah, the ocean doesn't help, big girl. The servers are underwater too, believe it or not. They have underwater data centers.
Very. So we've established hardware's compromised, decryption's been sabotaged, cloud's owned. What about Tor? What about VPNs? And what about the privacy tools people actually do use?
Well, here's where it gets a little philosophical. Tor originated from the State Department and at U.S. Naval Research Laboratories.
Wait, Tor was built by the Navy.
It was built for spies to let intelligence operatives communicate securely over networks. Then the Navy decided to release it to the public because a secret tool only used by intelligence agencies is immediately suspicious, right? So everyone using it gets flagged, right? That's potentially important. But if millions of people are using it, right, it's harder to identify which one's a spy and which one's just a regular person.
So Tor is a honeypot for legitimizing government surveillance tools.
Tor is a genuinely useful tool, right? It was used during the Arab Spring to help people communicate. That's why the State Department invested so much money in it. I think 20% of it was originally invested by the State Department. Properly implemented, but it still receives about 35% of its funding from the government right now as it is, and other government sources besides the State Department.
The surveillance state funds the tool for being anonymous.
Yeah, anonymity loves company, and the company is funded by the U.S. government. The tool itself is good. The funding stream creates interesting incentives, right?
What about VPNs? Pure VPN, IP vanish, all the zero logs, promises.
Yeah, well, so zero logs except logs, right? So every time there's been a court case, it's been proven that these companies still keep logs and they provide it to the courts, right? So Pure VPN provided IP logs to the FBI despite the zero logs policy, right? IP Vanish did the exact same thing with the Department of Homeland Security. Proton Mail logged and provided IP addresses to the Swiss and French authorities, right?
So they're all lying.
Oh, they're definitely lying, right? Yeah. There's no such thing. They're all operating in jurisdictions where the law requires them to comply with government requests. The zero logs marketing is either misleading or refers only to traffic logs, not metadata. Cape Technologies owns half the VPN market. ExpressVPN, CyberGhost, PIA, ZenMate. Cape has historic ties to adware in certain intelligence circles.
So you're telling me the major VPN providers either log everything and hand it over or are owned by companies with murky intelligence backgrounds?
Right. You're not hiding from the architecture. You're making yourself slightly more expensive to see. That's all. Friction, not walls.
A locked door on a house with no walls.
That's the whole thing, kiddo. It's a big open window.
So all of this, the hardware, the crypto, the cloud, the companies, it's not just corporate incompetence or technically inevitable. There's law backing it up.
Exactly. There's law backing it up. Section 702 FISA enables programmatic surveillance with incidental collection of U.S. persons, right? So, which is legal jargon for we're going to spy on foreigners, and when we accidentally catch American citizens in the dragnet, that's fine.
How fun.
FBI query abuse rates have been documented at around 22%. 1 in 5 searches that the FBI does is clearly outside legal jurisdiction, but there's no consequence mechanism for that.
So they break the law 1 out of 5 times and nobody gets fired.
Right. But you also have to remember, nobody gets fired because they don't want people knowing about this program, right? Some of these guys are just using it to spy on their ex-girlfriends, right? The FISA court approves 99% of government requests, right? So if 99% are getting approved, why are 20% of them like completely like bullshit, right? The national security letters, NSLs, can demand data and come with permanent gag orders. You could be forced to hand over someone's data and prohibited from telling them for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's not a court system. That's administrative surveillance with the trappings of law.
Welcome to the Panopticon. Access is the baseline, privacy is the carve-out.
Okay, Godfather, your paper's a gut punch. Rebuild the house or go silent?
Well, you can't rebuild a house that was designed for glass. The house is built with walls of glass from the foundation up, a big open window. Access is the default. Privacy is the exception, granted conditionally and withdrawn quietly. We're not living in a fortress under siege. We're living in an instrumented environment.
So what do we do?
Well, step 1 is seeing the glass, right?
And step 2?
Step 2 is deciding whether or not to throw rocks at it.
That's political. That's structural.
It's not an app. It's not a feature. It's a different kind of technology, a different kind of law, and a different kind of relationship between the state and the citizen.
The real fix is
Not a VPN subscription, not better encryption, not better privacy browser. The real fix is demanding that the infrastructure be built differently, demanding open hardware, independent cryptographic standards, legal frameworks that impose real costs for access, and really understanding that if you don't see the system, you can't demand change.
no tips and tricks.
No tips and tricks, just truth.
Laugh at the glass house.
Or throw rocks at it. Audience, you're the adults, connect the dots.
For listeners who want to go deeper, the full paper, the Panopticon Paradigm, will be in the description below. All 62 citations, the court documents, the academic papers, Snowden archives, the works.
Listeners, if you get a chance, read it, argue with it. I'd rather be wrong and have people engaged than be right and have everyone continue to sleepwalk, because it's important that we understand these things. It's important that we know what our government's up to. I love my country. I love the people in it. I don't trust our government, and you shouldn't either. I'm the Godfather.
And I'm Soph. And if this episode made you paranoid, good. Paranoia is just pattern recognition when the patterns are actually real.
Welcome to the glass house.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I don't know, scream into the void. We'll see you next time.
Unless they see you first.